I want to see Irish beer in Dublin, Ireland, and I want to see some red-headed Irish people. That's what I want to see.
There will be plenty.
I hope so. Number 2, complete opposite of what I just said about USC.
Okay.
Defensively, you're fine. Let's call it what it is. Defensively, you're fine. You got to get out of the Brian Kelly mold and blueprint here. You have a new offensive coordinator. Tommy Rees isn't there anymore. You don't have any excuse to have the same identity as Brian Kelly did at Notre Dame. Look, and Joe, and in all seriousness, it's time to move on. Spread that bitch out. Get in 4 wide. Do what you got to do. I know you might have a tight end here or there that you need to incorporate. Sounds good. Do whatever you got to do. This whole running the ball down people's throat, get rid of it. Let's go out there and score. Like defensively, it is what it is, but against a team that runs the triple option. Navy is always going to be disciplined. Always. It's why they're always beating the shit out of everybody. Number one thing for Notre Dame, I want to see you go get 45-50. I want you to go get 45-50, not by running the football. Joe, there has to be an identity change at Notre Dame. I had not said this all offseason because I was waiting for the playing portion of the year. Let's go change this identity because the Brian Kelly mold and fixture of how to do it, Marcus Freeman, you're not Brian Kelly. You can't replicate what the same head coach was just doing. Now, I know personnel dictated some of that offensively, and you had Tommy Rees. He's out the door. Let's go change some things. Let's go score.
Real Notre Dame fans know one thing for sure, that the Navy game every single year, no matter when it is always a really important indicator for success in a season. The years that they've lost or they've played them way too close, I would argue have been some of their lesser seasons, some of their less dominant seasons. The times that they've completely smoked and beat the shit out of them, those are the years that I've known Notre Dame is a good team. I agree with part of what you said. This is a game where you just put up as many points as you can. This is a bitter rival. This is a team that you don't need to hold any regard for. I understand it's the Naval Academy, but you have been rivals with this team since the inception of college football. Come out swinging, put up 50 points, as you said. Instill some confidence in the fans and also strike some doubt in the commentary that you had during the offseason that they don't have any weapons. You were one of the biggest critics of their weapons. What can they do with stretching the field with their receivers? That to me is one thing that I want to see. I disagree, though. I don't need to see them completely shift their identity. I think that Marcus Freeman is trying to build this team as a tough physical team up front that is going to build their offense and their offensive momentum from running the football. Audric Estime is a damn tank. And all I want is Audric Estime to come out after 15 carries because he's bowled his way through that Navy defense. I didn't say
not run the football now. I didn't say that. Okay.
I get what you're saying. You're saying just be a little more creative. Don't do the Tommy Rees BS where it was inside run, and then a screen pass. It was the same damn thing every single year.
I mean, Joe, look, you're going to hate this comp. You're going to really hate this comp. Georgia offensively was top 5 in every offensive metric last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And every metric looked like Joe, you have a really good quarterback. I know Andre Estime is really good. Joe, he does not have
Audric,
to carry,
the way. The comments
I keep
Audric. Yeah.
Audric Estime, okay? Just because he's in a Jerry Maguire remake. Wasn't that Estime in the remake?
It was him.
Okay.
It was him.
Joe, I promise you this in today's society. How many times did Stetson Bennett have to throw the ball against Ohio State to win? You got to be more explosive offensively. And I get the whole, in the part of the identity change is to show that even if during the season, okay, you go back to more of the Brian Kelly mold and identity, that's fine. You don't have to do it in this game to win. Because you know what would be scary as hell? Oh, shit, Notre Dame can actually score. Oh, okay. They can actually go – if you put 45 passing attempts on Sam Hartman's back, you're okay with it. You can win in any style. Joe, in today's college football, it's proven over the last 10 years, you have to be as balanced and as good at running the football and throwing the football to win a natty. Okay, everybody looked at 2019 LSU, 2020 Alabama, 2018 Clemson. You know what that team did multiple times throughout the year? Their quarterback had 45 passing attempts to win a game. They got to get to that identity. That's the identity Marcus Freeman needs to go after. That's my opinion. And I've constantly said that every preseason I've done these shows. And, Joe, it's always panned out. So that's where I'm going to say. That's where I'm going to be.
Yeah, I can understand the sentiment that you're coming from. I'm happy that you've kind of finally admitted that Sam Hartman's a really good quarterback. But again, just
football, I don't mess around. I think you know that by now.
Just to reiterate my point here and the point that you're making, this Navy team is at one of the lowest points that it's been in a long time.
I agree.
Completely reestablishing. And I know Navy doesn't get the same level of exposure and focus as they usually do. I mean, when they're good, they'll be ranked in the back half of the top 25. It happens all the time.
Right.
But this team is down. This team is bad. They're not as good as they've been. They need to kick the crap out of them. If they leave this game and it is, I think that the point spread is 20. If Notre Dame doesn't cover, I think that that's a failure. And I think Notre Dame fans, if you don't agree with that, then you need to look at yourself in the mirror and understand what needs to be accomplished in 2023 in college football. You can't be keeping a game against Navy under 20 points. You just
what else?
If you're that good.
You know what else it would? Well, you know what else it would help too for Notre Dame?
What?
Recruiting. Because listen, I don't think that they have the weapons ultimately to make a playoff or a push for one when it comes down to it. But look, man, we've seen teams, private school teams and high academic teams. But look at what Harbaugh was able to get from a skill athletic standpoint at Stanford. Buddy, the reason that he was USC, whatever, the reason that they were able to get those dudes there, why? Because offensively, they had a quarterback named Andrew Luck. When you show offensively that you want to do things, kids will show up. Joe, Marcus Freeman can find ways to get kids in there. You know that, and it's the biggest untold truth. Jacob Mears says, I don't think Notre Dame will necessarily want to be facing the run forcing the run this year like they did last year. And I agree with that. He also and Travis says there's a world Navy keeps this game extremely close. There is. So let's talk about that. Joe, the reason that you won't do this is because, look, triple option teams in week one are never easy. Ever. No. So, look, man, they're going to run the football a lot, and they're going to run the clock a lot. And look, it doesn't – what we haven't talked about yet, the clock does not stop on first downs anymore. Tick, 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 tick. The clock's going to continue to run. Maybe it is not a bad spread at 20 going – especially, Joe, because they're going to Ireland.
Yes.
If you beat them by 17 – because the clock tick, 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 tick. I don't think it's necessarily they're not that good. The eye test offensively will tell you what you need to know. It doesn't really have any – you're not going to know about them defensively for a little minute, right? Like there's nothing Navy's going to do that you're like, oh, man, we got to worry about this for when we play USC. That it doesn't work like that. Offensively, can you separate yourselves? That's the only thing about this game if you're looking from a projection standpoint. Because what is Navy going to do that offensively or defensively against USC that you're worried about in a couple of weeks?
Absolutely nothing, because it's all you need to do to win against a triple option team. And Devin Butler and CJ Process, I got to hear them talk about it, who's our Notre Dame show on Believe.
The second time you brought him up on
I'm going to keep bringing him up, man. I'm so proud of being able to work with those guys. It's cool. But they talked about it's just about discipline. It's about, playing your gaps, knowing exactly where you need to be, not getting caught up in any of the BS. But again, that's also part of what I've been talking about here, where you're supposed to be more physically gifted than their corners. You're supposed to be bigger, faster, stronger than any of the guys that they have in their secondary. You should create separation. You should be consistently open. Their pass rushers should not be getting past your offensive line and getting in Sam Hartman's face. He should have all the time in the world, and there should be a lot of open receivers, and you should be picking up a lot of chunk gains. It shouldn't be anything other than that.
I look at this game a couple years ago, So I didn't go last year because I just was like, you know what, man, I really don't want to look at a year one coach. To your point, this is the last point I was going to make of this game. Navy versus Notre Dame in 2021, I believe. They were the 10th ranked team, if I'm not mistaken. They had a loss, but Cone went 23 of 29 for 269 yards, but 270 yards and a tutty. That's highly proficient. Now push that limit, push that more, right? That's all that I'm asking for. All right, you want to do pick'ems very quickly?
Yeah, let's do it, and we'll wrap.
All right, so let's start with Notre Dame and Navy. I think the both of us are picking Notre Dame, correct?
Yeah, I'm picking Notre Dame. I'm not gonna even think twice about that.